Hi everyone, my name is Ryan.
Hi, I'm Taija, and we will be doing our debate on safe spaces and trigger warnings and their relevance to free speech on college campuses. Based on a definition from the Cretan Roundtable, a safe space is a place where anyone can relax and be fully self expressed without fear of being made to feel uncomfortable, unwelcomed, or challenged on account of biological sex, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, cultural background, age, or physical or mental ability. A place where the rules guard each person's self respect, dignity, and feelings, and strongly encourages everyone to respect others. In my opinion, the term safe space is actually quite broad and encompasses a variety of different meanings. It doesn't even have to mean a physical location. It could be as simple as a group of people that share the same values meeting on the horseshoe to be supportive of one another after a long week. Safe spaces can provide a break from judgment, unsolicited opinions, and having to explain yourself. It also allows people to feel supported and respected. Students never have to worry about facing discrimination, ridicule, or harassment. This is especially important for minorities, members of the LGBTQ plus community, and other marginalized groups. Safe spaces can be beneficial for mental health because everyone needs a place where they feel safe, away from the anxieties of life, and are free to just be themselves. This place could be the yoga class you go to every Tuesday to unwind, or in my case, the seat in the back corner of the library where I get most of my work done. Having a space where you're not constantly on edge or nervous can be life changing. A space like this is a necessity after the mental crisis COVID put most people in. These issues spark controversy because a university itself must be a safe space for all. And the idea is that with these safe spaces in place, along with trigger warnings, impose on free speech of other students as well as professors.
An important question to ask for this argument is, what are the purposes of universities? Compared to other environments, such as workplaces or secondary schools, students and academics should, in theory, be encouraged to explore particularly difficult subjects, to take risks regarding emerging areas of research, and to debate some of the most continuous and pertinent issues of our time. If universities are truly committed to free speech, this means making a concerted effort to increase representation and making measures that include marginalized or silenced voices. It means introducing clear right of reply policies in which controversial speakers are required to have their views challenged rather than potentially shut down or allowed to go unquestioned because of safe spaces. Basically, safe spaces curtail freedom of speech. Safe spaces are bad preparation for the realities of life. It is all very well to protect a student from offensive views in university, but this merely begs the question of how that student will be able to deal with an objectionable viewpoint once they leave the safety of full-time education. Will a student have been better prepared by virtue of a safe space, or will that student have been better equipped to deal with narrow-mindedness, having already encountered such views in the form of a university lecture or debate? One of the biggest opinions and views I personally support and agree with comes from Dr. Anthony Davies. He mentions that creating safe spaces actually restricts ideas. He mentions if you don't want to hear what someone is saying, do not need a safe space at all. All you need is a pair of legs and to walk away. Safe space policies, originally intended to ensure that minority or vulnerable groups felt secure, were being used by some people to seek to prevent the free speech of others whose views they disagreed with. Safe space policies on campuses are problematic and often lead to the marginalization of minority groups' views. The kind of safe spaces being offered at some schools and colleges and universities are designed to shield young people from divergent, dissenting opinions, opinions which are different from opinions these young people have been programmed or accustomed to hold very dear. However, a solution to safe spaces could be trigger warnings. In educational settings, trigger warnings often include a statement that warns the students of graphic references upcoming. In a 2016 survey conducted by NPR, 64% of college professors reported that they used trigger warnings in the classroom, regardless of whether students requested them because they thought the material could be distressing and needed a forewarning. Trigger warnings are great for the fact that they offer other solutions than safe places.
I argue that these spaces are a necessity and offer more support than coddling. Students of color, students with mental illness, LGBTQ plus students, students with disabilities, religious minorities, and others are too often silenced in classroom discussions, or else end up having to defend their experiences in order to be taken seriously. For these students, having an environment which is solely theirs is comforting and empowering. In this space, no one will challenge them to a debate, try to speak over them, make jokes, make them serve as a spokesperson for their entire race or gender, or attempt to invalidate their experiences. This does not prevent them from gaining the knowledge that will prepare them for life beyond college, since these safe spaces can be used outside of the classroom as well. It does not prevent discussion within the classroom either. These students choose what path they're going down in the form of majors and minors and are paying money to get this education. They still have to attend class, turn in assignments, and take exams just like any other student. This also doesn't protect them or shield them from certain discussions, but essentially allows them a space to decompress before or after having these discussions. The Cretan Roundtable also mentions the use of trigger warnings for professors so students are made aware of the fact that what is coming may be potentially triggering. These can help support victims of assault, PTSD, and violence by making them aware in advance so they can make the decision on their own of whether they can handle the discussion or not. Not placing a trigger warning could cause more damage mentally and could even make the student relive their trauma. By adding trigger warnings, or at least giving professors the choice to choose if they would like one, does not take away free speech because no one's saying you can't talk about these issues, they're just asking for a heads up. Trigger warnings work hand in hand with safe spaces, not to replace one, to provide an environment to students that enhances rather than hinders.
Safe zones at universities should not be as common as they are around all colleges. In terms of the Creighton Roundtable discussion, early on, as viewers, we see Mr. Jonathan Rauch makes an extremely great point that there is nowhere in America where the norm is more under attack than college campuses, especially safe spaces where we should be safe from the ideas that hurt. He then goes on to mention that we should not be safe from the ideas that hurt because the ideas that hurt are also the ones that teach. He mentions that speech at universities is not tolerated, but will probably be experienced that most people do not agree with. But this is part of being educated. Then, right after, Mr. Stanley Fish is asked a similar question and follows up with the idea that safe spaces should not be around because students should be discomforted and harassed because it is the exercise of mental abilities that is the business of education and universities. He also mentions that students should feel uncomfortable and should be nervous and anxious about correcting them, which leads to no safe spaces at all. At the end of the day, although safe spaces offer great opportunities in certain situations, at colleges, places where they are supposed to speak free and easy, they are very restricting and not.
A Rogerian approach to this issue would be a compromise that allows students to choose where they want to go. By this I mean we could still have safe spaces, but also create a new space where people can go to discuss certain topics, ones that are more controversial and that may be more triggering to others. This will allow the flow of ideas while giving students the option to not step into these zones. Not to say that these zones would be the only place students could debate and express their opinions and ideas. Being able to make informed decisions about which spaces students choose to enter and not enter is critical in helping them maintain a positive peace of mind and take control over the information they decide to receive and how they receive it. The zones should not be made to throw around hate speech, but to bounce around ideas and allow students to gain a deeper understanding respectfully. Therefore, no one's freedoms are being imposed upon and everyone's rights are protected. But the bigger question is, whose speech is being protected by these policies? Thank you for listening. We really enjoyed this debate and I really enjoyed this class. Have a great summer.
Thank you for listening. I hope this was an informative debate.